fine. So you can run while I'm trying to figure out on my side what's going on.
No, I think there's a view option on your window. Now, does that help?
I think I have too many things open. I saw you guys a minute ago, but I couldn't hear anything. And then now I can hear you, but I can't see you. So
Okay, all right.
nature of the beast sometimes.
Okay, I think you're ready to go.
Yes, we need to make sure the meeting's being taped because we don't have our minute taker here.
Bill, you're taping it, right? You got a thumbs up? Yes, I see it in the window. It's being taped.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, then I'll try to handle the work of the minute taker since she's absent for some reason unknown to us. All right, the meeting is going to be run by our secretary.
Our
Ms.
executive.
Flores, you are the only
Hey, you interrupted.
available member. Would you like to start the meeting?
She's finishing her notes.
This is, yeah, I'm watching, yeah. The board meeting of the South Central Regional Transit District is of June 26, 2024. Is now called to order, and the time is 1:39 p.m.
Thank you. So at this point in time, you've called the meeting to order. We do go
And the
to
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance. Yes, we can ask our alternate. Would you like to lead us? Sure. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
United States of America. And to
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. All right, so I guess we'll do a roll call. I'll start with that. I will call first, just to get on the record, Javier Padilla, who is the mayor of Sunland Park. The chair is absent. Meiji Powie.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor Hernandez
I'm here as well.
and Mayor Murillo. I don't think she's online yet, so I'm going to say no. Robert Martinez from the Village of Hatch. Representative, he's absent. Councilmember Flores.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez is absent, and in his place is Commissioner Reynolds.
Here, I'm the alternate.
Thank you. We have a quorum. So our next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda minutes from, actually says March, but it's,
We didn't have any,
yeah,
or maybe?
it would be April 24th of 2024. We didn't have a meeting in May, so we're looking to approve the minutes of April 24th, 2024. We'll need a motion.
David, this is Meiji Powie, and I make a motion to approve the minutes from April of 2024.
Well, says March.
Because you're reading the minutes from last month. We're now doing the minutes from this agenda, so we're doing the minutes of April 24th.
Okay.
Can I second
Which is
those?
what you see.
Perdón, yeah.
It's at the top.
Can I second? I'll second those.
A second.
Okay, I will take a roll call for that. So with the folks that are here, I will start with Village Member Powie,
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes. No, I can't vote on that. I was absent.
okay, And then it would be Commissioner Reynolds.
I'm going to say yes.
So that gives us 3 votes. And we normally would mean a majority would be 4. I don't think we can move the minutes.
What?
Does it have to be a majority of who's here, or is it a majority of the
No,
board?
just a majority of the current board is all it has to approve.
Okay, then we're good. Thank you. The item passes, and we will move on to public input. And we do have a member of the public. Please recognize yourself to the board. Thank you.
Okay, is this working? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Elizabeth Smith. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I've been working with SCRTD for 6.5 years. Currently, that makes me the senior most driver or bus operator here.
And your name again, please?
Elizabeth Smith. You can call me Liz. So today, I would like to present a letter. I don't know if you have already.
It's been provided.
It has been provided. I don't know if you've had a chance to review, but basically, in regards to, well, I'm calling it a catch-up raise on behalf of myself and the other bus operators. Basically, the letter that was submitted outlines, our case for it all. In a nutshell, it's regarding what's going on really around us, and has been for a couple of years. We are very appreciative of all the COLA increases that we receive regularly. We do appreciate that and how hard you all work to make that happen. That's necessity. However, we are a couple of years behind other entities that do what we do, with different budgets, of course, but we fall behind significantly on that. And I can give you, in the letter I've attached comparables. And I know you have to factor in all the benefits as well as the pay per hour. Roadrunner is a great example because they also do para and comparable benefits. So that's the example that I use. They have, for the past couple of years, advertised starting pay for their bus operators entry level at $19.50 per hour. We offer 16. And even the new drivers have expressed to me that is just, it's so far away from what we could be doing. And I know we're different, and I know we struggle. However, we are expressing, we have successfulness going on. We're expanding in every which way, and it's fantastic, and we're so thrilled to be a part of all of this. And let me just stop and say, if I had a nickel for every compliment we've had from the people who use our service, wouldn't be here asking for more, However, if you all would, and by the way, you all are, to my awareness, you have your own budgets. So if there's a way that you could review, help maybe see where anything can be adjusted to make this actually happen in a reality so that we could have a catch up. Just, it's.
Public comment. We're only receiving information. We can talk about that.
So Sun Metro also is at the other end because a lot of our drivers live in El Paso or in between. They're also competing at about starting their drivers at $20 an hour, So I'm just very respectfully and appreciative of what we do get when we get it. Let me just say too, we are actually, I think most of us stay knowing all of this around us because of the people that run us. We love what we do, we love who we do it for, and we love who we do it with. That speaks volumes, but it doesn't pay the bills. So that's all I really have. If anybody has any questions, that's why I'm here as well.
Not at this time. Oh, perdón. Commissioner Reynolds,
So the starting wage is 16 an hour?
That's incorrect.
how much is it?
It's incorrect. It's going to be in the presentation.
Oh, well, oh,
We'll
sorry.
come back next month with a more definitive analysis. analysis because there's some incorrect information that's been presented today and in your letter.
Okay, well, I was not aware. I apologize.
Well, the item is not agendized, it's only a public comment, but we will be giving you some insights when we go through the presentation.
So this is on the agenda.
Not on the
No,
agenda.
this is public comment.
I
But
would
the
like to,
budget is on the agenda.
I would like to also state, I would also like to state that I've been here as long as I have, and I've enjoyed all the many opportunities for COLA increases and that over the years. However, in comparison to what Roadrunner's entry pay is and Sun Metro's entry pay, I am $2.50 less per hour than they are. I know that for a fact. That's included in the letter as proof. Just I'm very respectfully saying, look, I'm not going anywhere. I love what I do. Like I said, I love the people that I work with and for, and I don't plan on going anywhere over this, but some of them might. And we have an excellent crew. Excellent, bar none. The people that are running us, phenomenal people.
Great. Well,
And the
thank
way you keep us is let us not go somewhere else.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Smith.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any additional public comment? Nope. Since we're in the public part of this, I was wondering if you, Sarah, would like to introduce the interns? Is that okay? We do this under public input?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Good afternoon, members of the board. I would like to introduce our interns for the summer. We still have 2 more that weren't able to come because they have either other commitments or another job. But they will say their name and the school they attend to.
Good afternoon. My name is Zach Minhades. I attend Gaston High School and I'm a senior, and I work with maintenance.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Cervantes. I go to Gadsden High School and I work maintenance.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Analira Rodarte. I attend Chaparral High School and I work with the office.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Angelique Melendez and I work in the with the dispatchers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, interns.
Thank you very much. All of them are working in our Anthony office, both either in the annex that's nearby our maintenance facility or in the maintenance operations group. So for the young men, you're doing really well with the heat. Thank you so much for being there to help out. So thank you all. That would be the end of public input. We will now move on the agenda to the executive director's report. Thank you. I will move up to the podium. There you go. Thank you. So just as, thank you very much. Again, for the record, David Armijo, Executive Director. I'm going to do essentially 5 different parts of this presentation on the Executive Director report for the month. So just as an overview, I don't know if that's how fast our vehicles are going. Loretta, you see the bus out there? She's not paying attention. All right, on the overview, I'm going to talk about fiscal year ridership year by route. So we have, oh, you saw it. It's moving very fast. So the, as good as the folks at the port, you know, the big planes and jets. So the fiscal route, we'll go route by route. I'll do that in a minute. We had record ridership again. So we have 2 different ridership numbers that we keep track of. We do the National Transit Database, which runs from October 1st through September 30th. That's the federal side. We also have our own budget, which is July 1st through June 30th. So we're not yet at June 30th, so we did some projections on that. Also talk about our first electric vehicle deliveries. We got one in yesterday. I'll talk about that, show you what that looks like. Probably the most important thing we do for the year is our annual DOT Performance Award that we get from the state. affects how much money we get. And it also shows how we stack up against the other 23 operators across the state. Sunland Park acquisition, we're making extreme progress on that. I'll go into that. And the New Mexico Fog Town Council, that's the foundation. My God, no, I'll have to look at what it says when we get to it. I can never remember the title. So we carried 121,000 rides. That's up about 16 or 17,000 from last year, so about 16% ridership growth. You can see the ridership by route. The lion's share of our ridership still comes out of the yellow, but the red route's doing very well. We always point to the Hatch route and the green route, which was, really a struggle to get that service going way back, and that's now about 4 years in. Carried over 6,100 rides. So doing very, very well on that. The most newest service is the Copper. That's a little local bus that operates from Doña Village as you come through town, to the Move It Center, and then on to Mesilla Park. That one did better last year, but we still need to work on that one.
So where's yellow?
Yellow is the route that goes from Santa Teresa, Sunland Park, and then straight to downtown El Paso. So it's a fairly short route with frequency every 90 minutes, but if you're standing at Sunland Park City Hall, it's 45 minutes into downtown with stops, 45 minutes to the end of the line. So, and then the silver route runs every 30 minutes, and that takes you over to the west side of El Paso from Sunland Park.
So the yellow and the silver are El Paso.
With the but the ridership is 85% from the community of Sunland Park, actually. They're just going back and forth. Yeah, I'll tell you, when we had COVID, that really changed things quite a bit, because when they closed the interstate, the border, we lost about 30% of our ridership, but then it's recovered over the course of time. So we've done very well. Thank you. New electric vans. So these came in yesterday. We've got 7 electric vehicles on order right now. These are the first 2. They're going to be used. Tim will talk maybe a little bit later. We're designing a microtransit kind of service. These are vehicles, but they're small. They only have like 11 passengers. The wheelchair lift is in the back, but they're very light. They can be charged fairly easily in a couple of different locations. We're going to have those. So it's the beginning of something we're going to grow a little bit further. The microtransit would be very similar to having zones and trying to do something like Lyft or Uber. So it'll be on demand for calls. So we'll look at targeting areas that have maybe limited access or growth, but cheaper to run that than to run a full-size bus route. The New Mexico DOT Performance Award, Councilmember Flores, you might remember this from last year. These are the 7 categories that are used. I know it's very small. If you look all the way to the right side and look at the agency rank, SCRTD was ranked #1 in the state for the 2nd year in a row. We're very proud of that. You have to go all the way down this lower part of the page. You can see how we ranked. We were #4 in ridership. We carried roughly 9.5% of all the ridership in the state of New Mexico. I will tell you right now, our ridership is up 20% over that from last year. I anticipate that we'll move up to #2 in the state and pass the 2 agencies that are in front of us. We're also there, if you look at the purple column and go down on that one, you'll see that we're #2 in cost. So you combine all those different points, that gets to the ranking. And so our ranking was, I think, 3.7 against the closest one to us was the city of, what is that? Oh, City of Roswell, I have it right here. Yeah, they're 6.29 and ranked 2nd. Los Alamos County is the one that has the big numbers. So among the 4 transit districts, we were #1 from that. So the larger agencies in the state. So we really moved up since we started almost 8 years ago. And so these are quantifiable statistics. And so I think when you have that and we measure #1 in the state 2 years in a row, that's a pretty good thing. And I think we're on track for a 3rd year.
What do you think are some of the most important evaluations here? I see them. Would you give them kind of a ranking as to which one of these things you believe are most important for the organization?
For the record.
For the record. Well, ridership is always going to be big. I mean, if you're a business, you want the most customers. I mean, so ridership is very important to us. But honestly, what really populates that and there's other categories, if you look at the second column in blue and green,
Yeah.
the statistics that are ridership and/or costs per
Right.
capita is really important. So although we didn't get number one, being number two in costs statewide is really important. And those are things that we have to look at and drill down, because although we've been successful 2 years in a row, those are things that can change very quickly depending on how we manage our budget. So that's a big one. And I know the board members that are listening that have been here any length of time knows it's been a struggle for us. Now, those numbers will improve when we get to that presentation by Adam, our finance director today.
Madam Chair, what did you say? What were you saying about my question?
No, it wasn't your question. I was just stating your name for the record
Oh,
because you're supposed to.
Thank you.
I'm supposed to raise my hand and be recognized?
All right, thank you. Any other
go ahead,
questions before I
sorry.
move on?
No, it's good.
Thank you very much.
So can you go back to that? I thought I was asking too many questions. I have another one.
Well, I think this slide actually explains the ranking a little bit better. I'm sorry I didn't go to this
Fine.
first.
We'll go back if I don't understand it.
Excuse me?
So that's fine. We'll go back
Oh.
if I don't understand it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I didn't understand. So yes, so I did put this up there. So yeah, this just covers the ranking. So I already covered this. I'll move on. So New Mexico Transit funding. We have also been working on opportunity to get more funding. And so when we look at the annual award, it's based on data that's in 3 categories. It includes, in this one, it's really the 2 categories, 5311, which is operating and can be capital. When it's capital, it becomes 5339. And I broke it into 3 categories. So we get capital for smaller bus equipments, those mid-size like the one you see here. That's one of our new front runners. Or it can be rehabilitation of our bus facilities. We begin some money there, and bus benches and shelters. So this coming year, we picked up grants again for this category for shelters, as well as another grant on our 5307 funding for the southern part of the district, which includes that area around El Paso. Okay. Sutherland Park acquisition,
Excuse me, Mr. Armijo. So just for the record, the numbers 5311, 5339, 5300, these are all under the federal
yes.
sources of information.
That is correct. So
Thank
these are funds that we qualify for. The 5310 is a very unusual one in New Mexico and Texas. New Mexico funds for capital, not operating. Whereas in New Mexico and Texas, they fund for both, but it's very competitive, very small amount of money. So we have competed. We were actually able to get, in fact, I'll go back. These vans that we're getting, those came out of our 5310 grant from El Paso, which is wonderful. So anytime we get money from another state,
Yes.
that's federal money. Technically, it's federal money from southern New Mexico, but, released from another state.
Thank you.
So the acquisition, we've been caught up for several months working with the state of New Mexico and the Federal Transit Administration. We worked out a path that allowed the transit district to, with our consultants, to sit down and negotiate with the owner after almost a year. So we've been going back and forth doing all the environmental and all the other issues. We were successful with one day of meetings, and we came to conclusion on a price. We did a updated appraisal, which pretty closely matched the price within 35,000 of $2 million. And so now the next steps is we're working through, the New Mexico DOT and the Federal Transit Administration, because those are federal funds, to finally get the sign off that will allow us to transfer the property. This is down in Sutherland Park over on Futurity and Canela.
Madam Chair? Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, Mr. Reynolds, Commissioner Reynolds.
This is property, I assume, that we're purchasing in order to establish another garage. Is that what we're talking about here? Or is this a terminal? What is this?
It's actually an existing property that we've been leasing for about 4 years, and now we're trying to acquire it. So, which will result in a substantial cost savings to us. We won't be paying for lease any further. We'll own the property, and it will allow us to expand it. Our plan is to make that a training facility so that we would have opportunity to do that. And we might be able to work with other agencies to warehouse their vehicles there in exchange for a price.
So it's training, training drivers, training maintenance, training,
All the above,
ticket
and
takers.
administration. Yes, yes, sir. Absolutely.
training and administration.
Yeah, that's correct. So right now, for example, we don't have a facility, so we have to train where we can find it, or we have to borrow and work with other entities, including the Roadrunner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And then last, now I have the FOG. So FOG stands for Foundation of Open Government Town Hall. They had a meeting, they're going around the state having meetings on the upcoming state budget. And so you might not be able to see the photos up there. We had 3 members of our delegation. On the left hand, the photo on the right, on the left is Representative Joanne Ferrari. In the middle is Representative Nathan Small from the Hatch area. And then all the way to the right is Senator Steinborn, Jeff, yes. That's true. And then the individual speaking actually did a wonderful job. That's Dr. Courtney. Did a really good job of presenting this. I do have his slides, so if anybody has any interest in the upcoming budget or how that whole process works, let me know. I'm happy to do that. Maybe when we post it on our website, but very well done. I put this up here today because I had an opportunity to speak. We are working with the governor's office. In fact, there's a meeting as I speak today with the chief of staff to talk about funding for New Mexico. Right now, New Mexico is one of 5 states that receives no state funding. So whenever we say New Mexico DOT, it's a pass-through of our federal funds. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand that a lot of the federal funds can, in those categories, like the 5311, that's a rural funding, but it's also a local return. That's coming from gas tax from Doña County. So if we don't submit for those grants, it stays with the governor, and those funds can be used for something else, somewhere else in the state. So for a number of years, when we didn't have a transit system, the funds would come in and would be transferred from the Doña County region to the governor's office. So where those funds got spent, I couldn't tell you. But over the last 8 years, we've been able to capture those funds. And in the last 3 years, we've been able to capture the monies that were going to the El Paso MPO or Texas that were part of the New Mexico Foundation. So, yeah, there you go. So anyway, we're very hopeful that we can make some progress. We're also looking at setting up a meeting with the, I believe his name is Ricky Cerna, the Secretary of Transportation. So we have been working for 10 years, the legislative effort to get funding for transit, and we had not been successful. This year, we took a different approach, and we identified that there are a number of goals and objectives that the governor has that without public transit, she will not be able to see those things come to fruition. So we're bringing that to her attention and hoping that some funds could be provided in the upcoming budget. So I don't know. That's where we are on that. But hopefully I'll have some good news to bring back in the next couple of months. And that's the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Yes,
Madam
Commissioner
Secretary.
Reynolds?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at the categories of the performance award again.
I'll go back.
That was where I had my question earlier.
Sure.
Looking at these categories, the list that's on this page, it goes from C to Z. Are those all of the agencies that have bus service in the state?
Those, yes, sir. Those are all the, if I may, Commissioner Reynolds, those are all the agencies in the state that provide rural transportation.
Okay.
What's not on the list are the 5307 urban operators, of which there's 5. We're one of those as well, so we're on 2 different categories. This is specifically for 5311 or 5310, so it could be either one of those categories, but it is for all the agencies across the state.
Okay, so if we are talking about Santa Fe and now Santa Fe and Albuquerque, they would be 53 something else, right? And that's why they're not on this list.
Well, actually, Albuquerque is on the list as Rio Metro RTD. So the district, one of the 4 districts in the state, would include that portion. But as a urban operator, which Albuquerque is, they're not on the list because they're in a different category. But as far as any funds that would come available to Bernalillo County, that would be Rio Metro.
Okay. The reason about I was asking about our ranking and being number 1 2 years in a row, okay, is if I'm looking across the ranking here, I mean, we're in the top 5 on everything except for two items. We're not in the top 5 on admin operations, and we're not in the top 5 on total A&O cost per vehicle mile. But other than that, we're in the top 5.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How are we able to do that
Well-
compared to the others? I guess what I'm talking about, is it something, is it the funding? Is it, I mean, how do we get all that, get these numbers?
Well, Commissioner, respectfully, thank you for that. It's a very good question. We're part of it's 2 parts. The part that's the numbers is the way we structure our bus service. So we have 3 facilities. One we own, which is in Anthony, and one that we lease in Sunland Park. And then we have a facility that's the surface area, which is the Mesilla Valley Hospital, I believe, which is on Del Rey. Why that's important is that's where we lay over our buses, and when we start our services, we are starting services going across the street in Anthony, going down the street and around to Sunland Park, but each of those are within a mile or so, plus or minus. So our deadhead mileage is near 0. Now, at some point, Tim McDaniel, our planner, is still relatively new, and I will have him do some research. I have to go by my planning hat from 20, 25 years ago, and the numbers typically, we call that non-revenue. And typically, because when you have a large city like Albuquerque or even Las Cruces, you're going to have a certain amount of deadhead for Las Cruces that come over at the, I can't remember the name of the street, and then they have to go all the way to the terminal downtown. So they have about a 4.5 mile deadhead start and end all day long. So their deadhead is about 400% more than ours. And so with that, we have huge savings, and that's one of the reasons those numbers are that low. The second reason is, quite frankly, we started slow in the process. We've been bringing our salaries and revenues up, and then we have presented that recently where we stand, and we are behind much of the rest of the state. So that is an issue of costs, and that's something that we're going to address here in a bit as we go forward and as we try to catch up to the others. So that would be part of my answer. So part of it is we did a good job scheduling services. The other part of it is that we're running a little bit less. The last one, I'll throw a third one, because this one came from the FTA administrator when she came to visit me from Fort Worth. She asked me why we don't have private operators running the services. And I told her it would cost us more money. We do a better job. Private operators can do it cheaply too, but they still have to have a profit motive. And you look at something like STS, the school bus, they have a lot of issues. They miss a lot of service. Parents aren't really happy with the school bus. We don't have those problems. Yes, we struggle every day to pull it out, but we do a better job. So those would be my 3 things I threw out to that.
Okay, all right.
But thank you for catching that. That's very important.
Well, and do you think we're going to continue to be number 1?
We're going to be number 1 next year, which is the current year that ends in September. I guarantee that one. Where we go after that, we'll see.
Okay.
But we like being number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, do you have any more questions?
Not of this presentation. I'm sure I will be full of questions later, though.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Armijo.
Have you ever been in a meeting with me when I didn't ask the question?
Never.
Exactly.
All right. So if I may follow the calendar, we're going to move on to item number 7. The calendar? Oh, the agenda, excuse me. You're correct. Thank you. So next item on our agenda, Mr. McDaniel will be presenting the discussion and resolution. We have 5 of these items coming up for approving the fiscal year 2026-2030 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, ICIP. This is Tim's first opportunity at doing this.
Sorry, we're going to give it just a second. All right, thank you, members of the board. I have the pleasure of presenting the fiscal year 2026 to 2030 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, the ICIP, for your approval. Next slide. Or I guess I do that. The ICIP is a 5-year capital planning document that local entities submit to the State Department of Finance and Administration. The state uses this information to assist in identifying funding sources for projects included in the document. As part of the approval process of this document, staff issued a survey to the public that ended after the presentation was sent to you for review. So in your package, you might see a different order here. We readjusted the order to match what the public had given us in their input, just to make sure that we're maximizing our public outreach. So the new ranking is as follows. The first project will be bus shelters and transit vehicles. The second would be our Venus Road Transfer Facility, which would be a new facility we're seeking in Las Cruces, up on the north central, northeast side of town, kind of near Highway 70 and Interstate 25. The third would be expansions to the Anthony Bus Facility, so we still need some work that we need to have done at our facility there. Fourth would be van pole expansion. So as our director, David, had mentioned earlier, the microtransit program where we have those buses and vans coming in. And then finally, the Sunland Park Transit Facility. So this would be further improvements to that facility now that we have it, hopefully being acquired in the next month or so. Or well, that might be a little optimistic, but coming up soon. Please note that this is already updated on the ICIP application with the state and will be submitted to the state accordingly, though you do have the option of changing the order during consideration of this item. Staff can adjust accordingly prior to submission to the state. The current list of projects is largely the same as it was for the previous 2025 to 2029 ICIP submission. The only new addition was for that Venus Road Transfer Facility. The requested facility is a proposed transfer facility along Venus Road in Las Cruces that would serve as a transfer point between existing lines serving Las Cruces, as well as a potential new route running to Oregon. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Or Tim McDaniel.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tim, can you go back to the project listing for a second?
Sure.
Can you have any kind of idea what what monies you're asking for here?
I don't have those handy, but I know on the facilities, those would be in the multiple hundreds of thousands.
I'm sorry?
Potentially. Well, no, I don't think we're quite that high. If you give me a moment, I can actually look that up on the ICIP and bring that back to you.
Yeah, I'm interested, and the reason is because when you're talking about your budget, which I think you're going to get next, okay, and you say, well, we've got this on the ICIP, but it costs $10,000. Well, we might be able to find a way to fund it some other way. I know 10,000 is not an accurate number, but if there's something on there that looks like it's reasonable enough that we can lobby for it inside the county, then I'd like to talk to Commissioner Sanchez about it and possibly the other commissioners. Because we still are a service that we need in the county. And so if there's something that you're looking to do that's, you would consider a capital improvement project, I might consider a maintenance cost. And if I can find something like that, I'm happy to support it to the board.
Sure.
Okay, so if you have those numbers, I'd like to see.
So I've got the first one up. I'm gonna have to open them project by project just because the way the
that's
website
what I
works. But for the Venus Road Transfer Facility, we had requested, it looks like $3.9 million.
3.9 million?
Yeah, that would include acquisition of the property, building of the facility, and then I believe also adding buses and.
Okay, how about the transit facility?
So this would be like a whole brand new build. We have the property identified, but we don't have the property.
And how much is that one? You think it's like
The
15 million?
property, I think it was $870,000.
Okay, that's the Venus Road you're talking about.
Yes, and it
Okay,
actually
sorry.
is owned by it's jointly owned, I believe, from what we found, by the county and the city.
And what about the Sunland Park?
The Sunland Park, let me pull that one up for you. Sorry, it takes just a minute because of the way they have to load these. Ooh, okay, let's see here.
All the way, also, by the way, I also lobby in Santa Fe for the projects for the whole county. And this is a project, if I know it when I go up there, which I'll spend probably almost 2 months up there this year, then I'll be lobbying for it.
Okay.
Okay, so
So we'll have to, I think, look at some of these numbers again, because I'm looking at it, and I think we might actually have to update something on here now that I'm looking. But I see that we're requesting $500,000 still for that
Okay,
facility
for the
as well.
Sunland Park, 500,000,
Give or take. Yeah, it looks like 553,000
okay?
is what
And
we've
Anthony
got.
Bus Facility,
That would be for the Sunland Park facility down there, yes. That's, we will own the property soon, so that would be, I think, for improvements to the facility as it
I
is.
got that 500K.
Mhm.
Okay, what about the Anthony Bus Facility?
Let's pull that.
We've been putting about 128,000 a year, so it's smaller.
128,000 a
Yeah,
year?
it's like in phase 3 or 4 now.
But this is for purchase, or is this
No,
for
we own the
operations?
facility, it's just rehab.
Operations?
Rehab,
Yeah, that sounds about like.
Rehab?
Yeah.
128?
yeah. We started with the purchase about 4 or 5 years ago, and then we've been putting every other year money to rehab it.
Okay.
New garage doors, what we did this year.
Yeah.
And so on.
How about the van pool?
Let me get
That's
that.
three vehicles, right?
So that one looks like we're requesting $296,000, so just about just
300,000.
under 300,000. Yeah.
300,000, okay. Okay, and then you got the last one, transit vehicles and bus shelters purchase.
Yes. let me get
Those are much more reasonable.
Yeah, and that one ended up being the most popular in the survey, which is actually not super surprising considering how hot it's been lately. But that seemed to be the one that was most important to our public. I am showing that we've requested $1 million, just over $1 million, $1,075,000.
$1,075,000, do you know how many shelters that would be?
I don't know that we have an exact count for shelters, just for that. This is a 5-year plan in the future, so, you know, those can fluctuate. So I don't have an exact number for you, but what does it run about? It's like 20,000 a shelter? give
And
or-
Commissioner, what I was going to say is that we have 2 separate grants already funded for the coming year, each with about 45,000 plus or minus. The shelters really vary. They fall into 3 categories. It can be as high as 20,000. We don't go that high, but
Well, okay,
we do
yeah.
about 10,000 per shelter itself to buy them from the manufacturer. And we're doing a multi-year, like you said, 5 years. So we're doing contracts that would go much longer. The pads are running about $4,000 or more to put down a concrete pad. And then you have the install. We have the ability and resources to do the install. That saves us several $1,000s of
Yeah,
labor.
if you get the foundation
So we're looking
poured,
at about 15,000 per shelter. So the 80,000 plus or 90,000 will not get us a lot of shelters. That's what we're looking at, $1 million in a 5-year plan. It's going to take us a long while to get there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
That's all I got.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
Members of the board, this item is a discussion and resolution required by the state of New Mexico, so we'll need to do a roll call on this one. If I may begin. All right, so on a roll call, we'll start with Ms. Powey. Member Powey?
Okay, sorry, I was muted.
Are you in
Yes.
favor? Yes, thank you. Mayor Hernandez?
Yes, but question, did you need a motion and a second?
Oh, I'm sorry,
that
you're
approval?
absolutely correct, Mayor. Could we have a motion first?
And I'll make the motion for approval of the resolution.
I'll second.
Thank you. And so we have Ms. Powey in favor first, and now,
Mr. Amijo, for the record.
For the
can we
record?
state? Yeah, off the record.
Yeah.
Member
For the
Powey?
record, can we, wait,
I,
hold a minute.
right,
Should,
I will say yes.
for the record, shouldn't the person who moves and the person who seconds go into the record, the name?
That's already been done.
Yeah, but
Anything else?
they didn't state their names.
Okay,
For the record, the motion was made by Mayor Hernandez and second by Commissioner Shannon, and we are now ready to vote.
Commissioner Shannon Reynolds, or Commissioner Reynolds.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shannon.
all right, we'll start the vote over again. I'm sorry. Member Powey,
Yes,
thank you. Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes. Yes.
The item passes. Thank you. We can now move on to item 8. There'll be a discussion and resolution approving the annual budget, presentation by Adam Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Armijo, and good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Adam Shea. I'm the Finance Officer for South Central Regional Transit District. This here is a presentation of tentative annual budget for fiscal year 2025. I have taken the liberty of creating another presentation and everything that will coincide with what is included in the binders. First of all, first item to discuss is the personnel services. You'll see here a list of all the personnel that we have within the district. There are several positions that are also open that is going to be carried over or for the new fiscal year. What we're requesting is the personnel services would have an increase of 10.65%, which includes a 5% COLA. That's what's listed here. This also includes 2 maintenance technicians and 3 additional drivers from what we currently have in our budget. Again, overall for personnel services, it's an increase of 10.65%. The next page has to do with the expenditures. And under the expenditures, as stated earlier, personnel's 10.65%. Employee benefits increases by 2.6%. That is only a small increase due to the amount of the health insurance, which is a decrease from over last fiscal year, bringing it down, but it is a slight increase of 2.6%. Next is the travel and maintenance, which is an increase of 4.76%. Supplies, an increase of 9.8%. In fact, let me
You're very quick, but that might be too quick a presentation, Adam.
I'm sorry.
No, keep going. I know you're trying to find it. Your slides.
I'm sorry?
Your slides.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up the original presentation. Under the original presentation and everything, the insurance is an increase of 75.65%. The increase, the reason for this particular increase is because our auto insurance, which covers for our buses, no longer has the 50% discount which we had in prior years. Why that was the case, I do not know. I did confirm that, however, with the insurance agency. Well,
Mr. Reynolds?
Yeah, sorry, Adam,
Yes.
are you saying you don't know why it went up, or you don't know why it was low in the first place?
They had, I asked that question, and they came back to me saying that previous years we had a 50% discount for our auto insurance, which did not carry over into the new fiscal year.
How does
So
that,
it's full price.
Because everybody's rates are going up.
no, but that doesn't, okay, if I had give you a rate, I say it's 5, I give you, and a 4, and I only charge you half for 2 years. First, two questions. Why did I only charge you half for 3 years? And how does that justify you doubling it in the next year? Okay, because I'm just thinking, if I'm an insurance person, have you had any claims? Have you had any accidents? I mean, there's no real justification, even if they just say it goes up for everybody, it's got to be linked back to some sort of logic, in my opinion. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'm not saying you're saying wrong, you're not, I'm not saying you're lying, I'm just saying, I don't understand their logic, and it just doesn't make sense to double it with no good justification, that's all.
I understand. And my question to them was, is it correct? Because when they submitted it originally, that was at these amounts, and they had indicated that it was due to us not, or the 50% discount that we had for 2 years did not carry over into the next fiscal, or next year. I could not, they could not give me a good enough, or they did not give me a good enough answer on that. All they said is that the discount did not carry over.
Have we as a board gone out and looked for competitive pricing from somebody else?
We have not, the reason is because we are under the New Mexico Self-Insurance Fund, which is actually the carrier for much of the government agencies within the state of New Mexico.
Okay. Do we have the option to seek a different insurance?
We, Commissioner Reynolds, we started 8 years ago using private operators because we didn't qualify for state use because we were not doing the maintenance ourselves. We found that we were paying premiums that were nearly double of our competitors. Their other rationale for that is that we didn't have enough of a track record because we hadn't been in service. So that was one. When we shifted to the New Mexico Municipal League, whatever the insurance is called, our rates dropped by more than half. What I'm thinking is part of the answer is that we remained at that level for most of the last 4 years. And I think they had a lot of changes in the office, as I recall. I know the city of Anthony had some discussions about, they were concerned about the coverage and so on. So even though the answer sounds simple, that they just didn't catch it, I think they just didn't catch it, and I think they caught it now. They also increased rates for all the municipalities last year. Which category was that, insurance last year?
Auto insurance?
Was it, no, it was something else. Wasn't it health insurance? Something went up after the fact?
Oh,
And
no,
then
that was the
cities-
health.
It was a health. And the cities
was the 10%.
challenged that.
Right.
We paid, and I don't know whether that ever got resolved by the cities, but most of the cities didn't pay the extra premium.
So are we being insured under a municipality or a county or a transportation organization?
As transportation organization, I believe. And a
I
transit
believe so.
district.
We are considered a special district, so I'm not exactly positive how they have it classified.
All right.
Yeah, Sara Vasquez for the record. Yes, we are under the category of the local public body, like the cities.
And you have a microphone there, is it
I
turned
have
on?
my microphone here.
Okay, move
Yes.
closer.
And identify yourself.
Yes, my name's Sara Vasquez, for the record. We are categorized as the local public bodies, same as like the city of Anthony, city of Sunland Park. That's because they only, health insurance and auto insurance, because they only have like the two categories, which is state and local public bodies.
So that means,
That's-
that would mean if you're an incorporated organization, you're treated like a municipality, which is a corporation, incorporated.
That is
unit
my
of the county as well.
understanding as
So-
speaking with
so-
the league.
So that would, so do you actually go to the metropolitan insurance in order to get your insurance, or is it a different organization? The city metropolitan body, whatever that is? Okay.
Yes, and then to add, our insurance broker, the Municipal League, has been through a lot of
That's it,
changes.
municipal league, yes.
Yes.
You get your insurance from municipal league.
Yeah, it's through
That's
the
what I was looking
Municipal
for.
League. It's the New Mexico Self-Insurance Fund, and they've been through a lot of changes in staff and a lot of changes itself as far as policy and all.
See, but now it makes a little more sense.
And more, yes,
Okay.
we all know.
That makes a
been
lot more
through.
sense, because it's got to be a state agency. It has to be either as a municipality, it has to be
Yes.
Mexico Department of Transportation, or some agency that's actually working with us. So no one's a municipality, that's the way we're treated. Yeah, I would think that, I would think there should be some really good reason why they would double your, go ahead and take away a discount that you've enjoyed for the last few years, and what their justifications. I would go back and ask them again personally. That doesn't make any sense. I was on the New Mexico Association of Counties, New Mexico Association of Counties Insurance Pool Board for 5 years, okay? And every time we would do our insurance like that, if we're gonna double your money or rate increase it that much, there has to be some justification somewhere. Either they had losses at another organization they didn't anticipate, which they still shouldn't be shuffling to you. I mean, let's just say, for instance, Bernalillo had losses of 2 million. That's hypothetical. Okay, and if they're trying to push your cost onto their, your rates onto their cost, that's a problem. So a better understanding of how they're actually justifying these increases, I think is worth investigating for this board. That's all. Okay?
Yes, sir, understood.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
I'll work with Ms. Vasquez to get those answers for you.
Yeah, I would just say, give me something in writing that shows me exactly why you felt like we don't qualify for the discount we've been enjoying. Because I know at the New Mexico Association of Counties, if you had a discount, there was a reason, and usually if nothing changed on your benefit, on your behalf, then the discount should continue until something changes, i.e. you have a claim or exorbitant amount of claims that exceed the amount of cost your insurance is. So they can't just say, we paid you $50,000 for the last 2 years, you had no claims, so now we're gonna double it. The insurance shouldn't be working that way because you have to be treated more like an individual, in my opinion. So, anyway, sorry to stop that, but that doesn't make any sense.
We will go ahead and we will take a look at that. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Welcome, madam.
To continue, the contract services, the listing that I have up there now is the individual expenditure accounts and the subheadings that I had originally, that's in the binder. For contractual services, I show an increase of 8.43%. And finally, operating costs, a decrease of 28.36% for an overall decrease of 1.9% from fiscal year 24. Are there any questions so far?
Did you reduce, Madam Chair?
Commissioner Reynolds?
Under contractual services, did you actually bring in some services that you were contracting out? Did you bring them in-house? Is that how you got the 20% decrease, or did you just do a better job negotiating contracts?
We we did increase across the board. If you'll notice, it was just not very high, and I took it a one case-by-case or line item by line item basis.
Okay, so the savings under the contractual services of 28%, how'd you get that?
Actually, under the operating costs, it's a savings of 28.36%, and that was primarily, the reason is because we don't have a line of credit to pay back.
Okay.
Which fell under this
So those were
category.
carrying charges on the line of credit that you used? The
I'm sorry,
difference,
say
the
again?
28% additional last year was the actual cost of interest on the carrying charges for the loan.
The proceeds as well as the interest, yes.
All right, thank you.
Next page is our operating revenue. And as such, it is a total of $2,813,442.66. It's a decrease over fiscal year 2024 by 6.3%. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is that we do not yet have confirmation of some of the balances that we are going to be receiving. That is yet to come in, and we should receive that information within the next couple of weeks. That will impact our total overall operating budget, but at the current time period, it is a decrease of 6.3%. And again, because of estimated amounts. Are there any questions? Now, one other thing to keep in mind between the expenditures and the operating revenue, we will be able to carry over $20,288.94 into the following year. Any questions on revenue? Okay, finally, the last page is our capital. And adding the budget plus the local funds, we have a total of $8,331,750.75, which is a decrease of 11.7% over fiscal year '24. Now, majority of these expenditures are moving from 2024 into 2025. These are funds that we had originally secured. And the reason that our capital is so high is because of our purchase, or seeking to purchase the Sunland Park facility and the conversion of our fleet to electric, which is is part of the projects that we're working on. And are there any questions? Seeking resolution to approve this particular budget so that we could go ahead and put through to the state.
Thank you very much, Adam. So at this time, we'd take a motion for approval of resolution. And again, this is it should actually say in there, but this is actually a tentative approval of the budget. The final budget comes for approval in May. So I'm not sure. May of next month. I mean, July, next month.
I was gonna say, ooh,
May, yeah, May,
ooh,
came and went already.
we'll be back.
Yeah, so next month, July. So I'm looking at the
It's been a long
budget.
day, Dave.
Yeah, it should say tentative budget, so somehow that got lost in the
I
shuffle.
think, well, we could still do a motion in order to
Correct.
approve the tentative budget.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So that would be the motion. Do we have a motion to move the item as a tentative budget for fiscal year 2024? Actually, it
Commissioner Shannon,
should say 25.
wait a minute.
I'll make a motion. Commissioner Reynolds, I'm making a motion to accept the tentative budget for fiscal year 2024.
Could you actually make that 5, please? I'm sorry.
It's
It's
going to be
wrong.
2025?
Yes.
Now, the item says 2024.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like
incorrect.
to make a motion, we approve the tentative budget for the, just presented for fiscal year 2025.
Hernandez, and I'll second that.
Yeah. The resolution number is correct. The resolutions are at the back. Sorry. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second?
I believe that was Mayor Hernandez who seconded.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Hernandez. We have a motion and a second. I'll call the item. Member Powey,
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilor Flores,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes.
The motion passes, and we can move on to the next item. And that'll be me. The next item will be item 9, and it is in your packet on page, well, the pages are not numbered. If you could look for that item, item 9. So item 9 is discussion and resolution. We are asking the state of New Mexico Department of Transportation to transfer the South Central Regional Transit District from a sub-grant recipient to become a direct grant recipient. As stated in the motion, the reason for this is that we've had significant growth and operational maturity over the last 8 years. The benefit of a direct recipient is that we're able to manage our budget in a much more efficient way. For example, we're currently a direct recipient under the guidelines of the El Paso MPO, and our grants are located in a federal program called TRAMS, which Adam can be happy to explain in detail. And so the difference is, and as a matter of fact, Adam, could you step up for just a second and help explain this? So you processed some grants in TRAMS as a direct recipient recently. How
Right.
is that different than the sub-grant recipient?
Well, with the direct recipient and everything, we can go for the entire, we plug in the entire year, basically, for the entire grant. And we have access, as soon as it goes through the approval process, of accessing all of those funds, either all at once or a piecemeal. Whereas going through as a subrecipient, the monies have to go to the actual direct recipient, and then we have to put through our little trickle to gain on a regular basis.
The most significant thing, if I may, members of the board, is that once Mr. Adam is able to submit a request online, Shay, he can actually get the funds transferred into our bank account within 72 hours. Whereas right now, we're still trying to get reimbursed for the May invoices for operations requests that we submitted on May 31st, I believe.
Actually, it was like June
Yeah, he gets it done pretty
3rd or
quickly,
4th, something like that.
and we haven't gotten paid yet. And part of it is, and that, in fact, we're going there tomorrow to have these discussions with the state, is there's always questions on the process. Whereas the Federal Transit Administration trusts that we have the process correct, and then when the time comes for auditing, we just have to be able to provide the information. So it's a much more efficient way to go. It allows us to advance the funds, pay our creditors on time, and be able to move forward. So I anticipate this conversation tomorrow with the feds, and what we anticipate happening is the transition to a direct recipient, which, by the way, came up during our recent audit by the state of New Mexico. They requested that we do this. So we're actually following on their request. We anticipate that they're going to transition this within the fiscal year, which means we're making the request today. We're asking for a resolution to be passed so that this is coming from our board, because legally it needs to come from the board. Even though they've made the request. So it has to come from our board. The transition would occur on October the 1st going forward. So thank you for that clarification. Any other
David, this
questions?
is Michi Powie.
Yes.
I have a question. So Venus, it's unclear to me who had control of the money that you had to get it piecemeal. Who was that, or what organization was that?
Ms. Powie, that is a very good question. So 2 parts to that answer. The first is the funds are actually with the Federal Transit Administration. The New Mexico DOT is the major player in this. We're the subrecipient to them. So they have to work with us, but then they have to take that request and process, and then they request to the FTA to get the funding. So they are actually the middleman. It's our funds. We earn the funds in the capital grants, whatever, and now we're waiting for those funds. The funds that Mr. Shea is managing right now are from the grants that we get on an annualized basis that we've been waiting in line, and he's been able to process 2 grants in recent days, and we're trying to run those things down, and we're not about to go to a 3rd grant, which ironically is so complicated in this that we've actually had Tim working on with the El Paso MPO to get those things programmed. And then the funds get programmed, and then they go over to finance. So we're creating a much more, but actually it's becoming more expedited. We're actually moving much more quickly, and we have the money programmed. Correct.
Yeah, okay. And was that basically because we were a new organization?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. You picked it up. That's right. And after 8
Okay.
years, we think we've graduated to the next level. We hope so. We hope so.
Okay.
So, are there any other questions on this one?
No, that'd be great. Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner?
just a comment. I think it'd be great to be servicing your own funds, basically, because it's first, you don't have the time lag, number one. Number two, you don't have the administrative costs that go along with that as well. And depending on the organization that's actually hosting your grants and managing your funds for you, then that could be a lot. Okay. So anyway, I think it's the right move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very true. So,
So we need a motion?
yes, we do. Do we have a motion on this item, item number 9?
So move to accept?
Second?
I'll second that. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mayor Hernandez. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote on that, starting with Ms. Powie.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes.
That was our easiest item today. Okay, thank you. It was a good item. Item number 10 is a resolution approving the FY 2024 grant submittal with the El Paso MPO, and this is Tim McDaniel. Thank you, Tim. Our newest grant.
be the 5307. I think you already had it open on the PDF. Yeah. Thank you, William. All right, thank you again, members of the board. I have the pleasure of presenting the FTA 5307 fiscal year 2024 grant with you. The FTA Section 5307 grant is a formula grant that is calculated and distributed annually for urbanized areas across the country. This particular 5307 resolution is to receive $630,149 for the New Mexico portion of the El Paso urbanized area. Further funds may be available via Mesilla Valley MPO and will be addressed at a future meeting if available. The following projects have been proposed and have been submitted to the El Paso MPO for approval. They have approved those to be added in their documentation, their planning documents for the next year. The first one would be for preventative maintenance. So this would be an 80-20 split. We're requesting $94,269 from the feds, and then $23,592.25 for local match. This is then the second one would be the JARC program, which is the Job Access and Reverse Commute program. That's a 50.
Hey, down. Pipsqueak.
Pardon me?
Ms. Powie?
I'm sorry. I was running mute. My cat was trying to climb in the.
Yes, Madam Chair, did your cat have a question?
Ms. Powie, are you asking Mr. McDaniel to start from the beginning? Is that what you'd like?
No.
What, you just wanted to let us know your cat did something? Thank you.
She was on mute.
We thought you, well, we heard it all, so don't worry.
No, it's okay. My cats also like to join my meetings when I'm working from home. So for the Job Access and Reverse Commute program, that would be a 50-50 split under the federal guidelines. So we would be seeking $65,000 or $65,015 from the feds and also matching that amount with local funds. We also have operating assistance, which is also 50-50 split under the guidance from the federal government, requesting $95,616 from the federal government. And then the local would also be $95,616. The fourth project would be to resurface the pavement at the Sunland Park facility. That is an 80-20 match. So the feds would be contributing $210,849 to our $52,712.25. Fifth project would be a maintenance facility, which would be equipment for the Sunland Park facility. That's an 80-20 split, $85,500 from the federal government and $21,375 for the local match. And finally, security fencing for the Sunland Park facility, which is an 80-20 match. The federal government would contribute $78,800. The local match would be $19,700. Okay. And this would be a breakdown of the request, including the match amounts for the total. Please note that SCRTD is currently responsible for $278,010.50 in match for this program. However, staff has applied for a grant from the New Mexico DFA that would cover this match if successful. We're hoping to have the results of that application for you in the next couple of meetings. So,
Madam Chair?
pretty hopeful. They seem to be pretty receptive to that.
We have a question from
Yeah, I do have a question. You said you're asking.
Commissioner Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're saying that NMDFA has actually, New Mexico Department of Finance Authority actually has a grant?
They do. They have a match fund grant where they will match, they will cover the match funds if you're awarded the grant for a federal grant application.
Okay, and there's no charge for that? I mean, as far as interest or some
Commissioner,
loan?
if I may add, Commissioner, thank you very much. The state of New Mexico in February, March passed Bill 177, signed into law by the governor.
Yep.
That Bill 177 allows for all federal grants, it allows the local match, whether it be operating or capital, from any federal grant. It could be agriculture, it could be transportation, which we're doing, or anything. Unfortunately, they only have $70 million program, and they've already taken administrative costs off the table. So that leaves $62,500,000 to be funded, and it's on a first come, first served basis. I will say I was a little quicker than Tim. I got mine in just under 8.5 minutes when they opened it. Tim took almost 30 minutes. Now, he is a little bit younger and maybe a little less experienced. I type pretty fast, 40 words a minute without an error, I'll take that any time. So we did get 2 grants in. He went for the low-hanging fruit, which is this grant for operations. I went after the capital grant you were discussing earlier on the Venus property. So I went after a local match of $455,000. So if we are successful enough to get these 2, we would be doing very, very well.
Sounds great.
Now, I will say one last thing. It's a very limited grant, not just from funds, but it was going to be 60-day window. They now made it a 120-day window. The problem with the 120-day window, either forward or back, is you already have to be in a grant application process because they required us to give them grant application numbers. They're asking for the grant application that we submitted and so on. Right. So this is a reoccurring program. So hopefully next year will be more money. And so the county and the cities will have to prepare themselves for this.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
We're very hopeful.
David, this is Meiji Pally. So I need to get this. They actually, it's not that the match is waived, it's that the state will pay the match. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The match, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
They may reimburse us for it, but yes.
It's fabulous.
Yeah. No, it's a wonderful program.
Fabulous.
We're very excited about it. With that, that actually concludes my presentation, but if you've got any more questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? None? Thank you so much, Tim.
Only one. Do we have anything, we need to
For a
approve on this?
resolution, because
there's
Is there a resolution?
Yes.
so we are asking for a motion for a resolution on the approval of the resolution. Do we have a motion?
It's so moved by Flores.
Councilor Flores?
Seconded by Hernandez.
And seconded by Mayor Hernandez. And so I will take a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Powie.
Mute. Yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. This motion passes. We now move to our last item of action on the agenda, item number 11, which I will handle. That is a discussion and resolution approving the memorandum of understanding. And again, I'm going based on the packet. I'm sorry, there's no page numbers, but it's in your packet near the back before the resolutions, item number 11. This item has an interest. It doesn't have a page number. So it's the last item, item 11. I think you're already in the resolutions. So you want to go back. Item number 11. So while they're finding that item,
Yeah, I don't have an 11. Mine stops at 10. Oh, it's in the front. Didn't you say back?
no, I'm sorry. I'm at the back of the section. You're taking me very literally, but thank you so much. I will adjust accordingly at the next opportunity we meet.
Maybe you can get one of your, maybe get one of your interns to actually do a tab. It's tabbed already. I'm being funny, sorry.
So if you'll look at the end of the second paragraph, it makes reference to federal legislation as required by 23 CFR 450.314. So this is a legislative item. I can tell you this, I've been doing this for 40 years. This is a grant item that came out of the New Starts program almost 15 years ago. The idea behind it was that all the regions under the Metropolitan Planning Organization would have guidance that would provide transportation programming and funding and so on. And the idea specifically to this item is that there would be representation of the regional transit agencies or municipal transit agencies with the Metropolitan Planning Organization. In the case of the El Paso MPO, there are 25 board members. 6 of those are representatives from New Mexico, including the engineer for New Mexico. We have, like, examples, Mayor Marillo is on that board, along with Javier Padilla is on the board as mayor of Sunland Park. And then we have Representatives Lara and Madrid and others. So I say that only from the standpoint, we are not on their technical committee, whereas if we look at the Mesilla Valley MPO, we have been on the technical committee for years. The policy board has a number of different people, and I think, Madam Councilmember Flores, you're on the policy board, have been, for the MPO here in Mesilla? No? Thought you were on there. Maybe you were there as an alternate. We'll talk about that afterwards. There was a conversation you and Sanchez had, but anyway. But at any rate, so the point is, even in our area, our backyard, we have been represented for a number of years. And so I have members of my staff, including Adam, Tim not yet, Sarah, and Loretta have all sat in for me on the Technical Advisory Committee. And so what that means is it's an opportunity to get to know the grants and the programs and people and so on. All of that's known. In the case of El Paso, we've been, even the governor could not get us represented. So the technical, their triennial review for the region identified that we were not on it. The Department of Transportation in Texas basically told the El Paso MPO, how come South Central Regional Transit District is not on your board or involved? So after a number of efforts, the MPOs had to do a memorandum of understanding. That was our opportunity. So I stepped up and said, and I got the support of our chair, hey, it's time that we be considered. As a result, and I know Mr. McDaniel was at the committee meetings, a couple through there where I couldn't be there, and they did take on our water, and so we are now on the TAC, the technical committee, for the policy board. We're not represented on the policy board, but we do have 6 other representatives. So at any rate, this is a step in the direction. So what I'm asking for today on this resolution is that we agree to the request that, and I identified as all parties, that we would become the resolution will approve an MOU between New Mexico DOT, the El Paso MPO, and the South Central Regional Transit District. And you can imagine the New Mexico DOT is because we are, in fact, still a sub-grant recipient. So the New Mexico DOT is our patron on this issue.
Mr. Armijo, you don't have a proposed resolution. You're just saying to take the language from the recommended motion?
There should be a resolution. It's not in the back?
Actually, I think he's just combined 2 items.
It's number 26.
Item number 11 under the
It's
list.
26.
26 what?
Yeah, if you can find resolution number FY 2426, this is the resolution that was provided working with the El Paso MPO. And the signature page on the last page of that agreement will have our chairperson, Javier Padilla, signing that agreement.
Oh, the South Central Regional Transit District Resolution number FY
2426, yes.
Okay.
Discussion and
24,
resolution.
25.
2426. It's the 26th resolution agreed to in the fiscal year 24 that will end this week.
Yes, on the 30th.
So with that said, unless there's any other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
You know, excuse me, David, this is Meiji Pally. I think what she's trying to say is, it isn't, okay, there should have been a resolution number.
There is.
The FY 24-26, that's not the way we usually, I've seen it done.
That's the way
It's
we,
like,
yes, Meiji
no,
Pally,
here's
that's,
resolution number 8, FY 24-26, resolution number 11, et cetera, et cetera. if you have the same year, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and I disagree. This is our resolution number. It's 24-26. It's the 26th resolution
Okay,
that would be approved for this fiscal year that will end this week.
okay,
Our next resolutions, next beginning in July, will be fiscal year 2501. Right.
okay.
Thank you. No, I know it can be confusing, believe me. I love resolutions. That's an inside joke with Javier and I. I love resolutions.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number FY 24-26.
Thank you.
Hernandez, for the record.
I second the motion. Flores, for the record.
All right, so we have Mayor Hernandez making the motion, Yvonne Flores, Councilor Flores making the second of that motion. So I would entertain a vote. I'll do the roll call, starting with Member Powey.
Yes,
Thank you. Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes.
And the item passes, all the votes unanimous. So thank you very much. That completes this item, moves us to item number 12, which is future agenda items or schedule. And if you look at the bottom page, the next meeting will be Wednesday, July 24th, 2024 at 1:30 in this same room. I guess we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair?
If there are no other questions.
Yes.
yeah, I have a question too.
Let her go first.
Okay, David, before we adjourn, is there any update on Sierra County?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't catch that in my report. I apologize. So we can talk about that as future agenda items under the item 12. And under future agenda items, we will have a presentation as we roll out the new services for next month. We've had to move the schedule back. We did get new vehicles in. Unfortunately, we've had a vehicle problem with the council. I can't remember the power to one of the buses. So only one of the two buses that we plan to use in Sierra County is available. The bus stops and schedules were completed this week, and we'll begin installing those in Sierra County next week. We hired our first operator recently, and then we had some issues with the background check on that operator, so we're still hiring 2 operators. That's reflected in the budget that we approved earlier today as a tentative budget. So we are now looking, I believe, is it July 20th? So July 20th, so just over 3 weeks from now, we anticipate starting that service. And again, it will continue as a free service in the coming year.
Thank you.
And we have a new brochure that will be placed on our website. And as I said, we'll agendize this item for further discussion and presentation at that point. Next month will be a week into service and we'll give an update. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions on the next agenda items that we can?
I have another question, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes, looking at the resolutions that we've actually passed, it looks like it only requires one signature from the chairman of the board. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's our standard.
Okay, is that what the bylaws say?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
And in fact, if that individual is not available, we go through the order of the officers. It would be the vice chair, which is Mayor Hernandez right now, and then it would go to our secretary, which Ms. Flores is, and our treasurer, which is Commissioner Murillo, or Mayor Murillo.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if that's it, then we'll take motion to adjourn.
So moved by Flores.
Second.
Go all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.
Yeah, roll call is not necessary. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.